And a hunt meeting at Tutbury today. It's a drag hunt, of course, since the 2004 legislation. You can't go and hunt with dogs, but a drag hunt where there's a scent laid by a human and they chase after that. So we will be hearing from Martin in the next few minutes on BBC Radio Derby, and we're going to be hearing from an activist who's opposed to hunting later in the programme as well.
A member of a Staffordshire hunting group is calling for a review of the legislation which bans the hunting of wild mammals such as foxes and hares. Mike Jones is joint master for the Meynell and South Staffordshire hunt, which meets at Tutbury Castle later today. He says often the hounds do what comes naturally and it's difficult to stop them.
If you are exercising an animal and your intention is just to exercise it, and it so happens then to, by the very nature of what it does, it decides to go and chase something, whether that be, a hare, rabbit, whatever, a rat. If you've got more than two dogs, you're breaking the law.
Those are the news headlines for Derbyshire and East Staffordshire.
Now, hunting. Hunting legislation is unworkable, according to a member of a local hunting pack that's meeting today at Tutbury Castle. The horses and hounds won't be chasing animals, of course. It's illegal. Instead, it'll be what is known as a drag hunt. But organisers of this say that the Hunting Act 2004, which is still in place, is unworkable. Martin Williams is at Tutbury Castle this morning. Martin.
Good morning, Ian. Yes, beautiful surroundings today. It is a glorious day. I'm looking, well, obviously, the castle was built because it's on somewhere quite high, which gives me fantastic views over towards the Peak District where there's still snow on the hilltops there. It looks absolutely beautiful with the sun coming up this morning. And this is going to be the site and the setting for a, in inverted commas, hunt later on this morning, although it isn't exactly a hunt. I'm with Mike Jones, who's one of the joint masters for the Meynell and South Staffordshire hunt. What exactly will be going on here today?
Yeah, we will be meeting here at about 11 o'clock. Before we meet here, we do pre-laid lines. Somebody will be going out and laying a line across the farmer's land, and we will then set our hounds on that line, and then we will continue from there. And part of that, today's exercise, will also be hound exercise as well. So, yes, we will be on pre-laid lines, which is of a certain scent that will be laid on the ground by an individual.
You've described the current hunting legislation, of course, the quite controversial Hunting Act, which came in 2004, as unworkable. What do you mean by that?
It's very cumbersome. It wasn't particularly well thought out. And in the execution of that, it becomes very, very difficult, certainly for the police. And with the involvement of the League Against Cruel Sports, in essence, you need to have, there's two dogs or more is actually hunting illegally. So if you take your dog for a walk and it finds a live quarry and you have more than two dogs out, it is actually hunting illegally. And as we all know, dogs are curious and they do silly things and they do chase live quarry occasionally.
Would you want to return to the way things were before 2004, catching and killing live foxes?
I think... Well, we don't catch and kill live foxes. I mean, going to what we were. Yes, I think a repeal of the Act would be a good idea, but certainly I think the Act needs to be looked at with much more detail and be reviewed completely. Whichever political party come in, whatever. But I think it certainly needs to be looked at, definitely.
The Conservatives have said they're going to take a look at this if they come into power. And the general election, will that make a real difference to hunting, in your opinion?
Well, it depends if it's high on their agenda. We hope it is high on their agenda, but with the political world as it is, there's going to be more pressing issues, I feel. But I would hope, yes, if they have promised to look at it, it would be very good if they could look at it, or any political party.
OK, Mike Jones, thank you very much.
Thank you. Martin Williams with Mike at Tutbury Castle. So before the news at 9 o'clock, let's talk about hunting. We touched on this earlier on, and Martin Williams was with a member of a local hunt. The Hunting Act 2004 is cumbersome in the view of Meynell and South Staffordshire's joint master Mike Jones. Under that legislation, hunting of mammals like foxes and hares is banned. The Meynell and South Staffordshire hunt within the legislation are taking their hands out drag hunting. But Mike Jones thinks the legislation needs a complete review. Staying within the legislation, he says, can be out of their hands at times.
If more than two dogs were to pick up the scent of a live quarry and actually chase a live quarry, i.e., if I was to go walking with, say, my brother-in-law and his 2 dogs and my 2 dogs, and those 4 dogs were to then chase a live quarry, we are breaking the law. So dogs, as naturally they are inquisitive individuals, and they're bred to either hunt or retrieve or whatever they do. And if they naturally go and do that, and there's more than 2 of them, you are breaking the law.
Well, listening to that with me is animal activist Victoria Martindale. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
What do you make of Mike's thoughts there? Dogs will be dogs. It's nature. It's a silly law to say you've got to stop a dog following its instinct.
Well, let's not forget here, the Hunting Act was a very successful piece of legislation that's got the overwhelming support of the British people. It works and it's enforceable, and that's been proven by the large number of successful prosecutions that have occurred in the number of years that the Hunting Act has been in place. In fact, it's one of the best pieces of legislation we've had for animal welfare in this country for many years. Let's be absolutely clear that what the problem here is not the Hunting Act. The problem lies with that group of people within the country who think that they're above the law, who don't need to apply to the law, who have no respect for the will of the Parliament or the will of the wishes and opinions of the British people, and are intent on going out into the countryside and disobeying the law. It's very easy to work and to hunt and to do activities within the law, but these people are prepared and determined to use any loophole, any opportunity within the law, and exploit it fully in order to carry out and cover up their illegal activities.
I mean, if there are loopholes, surely they're right that the legislation's flawed.
Oh, yes, I agree with that. I'm certainly not denying that there are areas of the law that need to be improved and strengthened to make it more effective. But that's not saying that there's a fundamental problem with the Hunting Act at all. The Hunting Act is a very good act that just needs to be made even better. And we need to build upon its success and make sure that those loopholes are blocked and closed so that people like the gentleman who's just spoken don't have the opportunities in order to cover up and use a disguise for their illegal activities.
The Conservatives have said that they'd consider lifting the hunting ban if they're elected in the general election later this year. What do you think to that?
Well, they've been saying that for some time, but fortunately, David Cameron hasn't actually followed that through. And the reason he's done that is because he knows that he won't win a repeal of the Hunting Act. Over 80% of the British public support this Hunting Act, and the MPs will not vote to have a repeal. So he's not carrying it out because he knows he will fail.
I mean, Mike says that hunting groups like theirs, like that hunt, they work within the legislation and they just want to encourage exercise for hounds.
Well, I'm all in support for exercise for hounds. There's nothing wrong with that. And I'm also in great favour of acting within the law. But unfortunately, as this gentleman knows very well, he's not acting within the law, and he's using the excuses and the loopholes that exist in order to cover up his illegal activities. For example, they often use the excuse of trail hunting, which is a scent laid down, which is the scent of a fox, which is put in the areas where the foxes are found, like forests and heavy scrubland and hedgerows. And so the hounds pursue this scent, and obviously in that same area they're going to disrupt and uncover natural foxes, which they then pursue and kill. However, the huntsmen then turn around and use this as an excuse and say, well, actually, that was an accident.
Well, is it illegal? Because, technically they are still working within the law, aren't they?
Well, not when then they go off and...
Whatever their intention, you may accuse their intention of being, if they are laying a scent and following that initially, they are working within the legislation as it's written.
Well, they're using that deliberately in order to cover up the activity. So they're using that as a guise to say, well, we're doing legal trail hunting, but then they go off and accidentally, in inverted commas, kill a fox. So that's a loophole that needs to be tightened up. They need to be able to keep the hounds in control, not allow them to go off and kill foxes. And if they really are genuine and intent about keeping within the legal remits of the law, they should be using drag hunting and training the hounds not to follow a fox or an animal scent. Use an artificial scent.
I'm not here. They're not here to defend themselves immediately now. I should just ask you. I mean, are you saying that the Meynell South Staffordshire hunt do that with deliberately laying the scent in those places? Or are you generically talking about what you believe some hunts do?
Well, I can certainly say that there have been some successful prosecutions against illegal hunting activities within the Meynell hunt. So, I mean, that speaks for itself.
All right. Well, thank you for coming in this morning. Important to hear your side of this as well. Animal activist Victoria Martindale talking about the hunting issue there as well.